All right, everybody, welcome back to another pregame show to get you in the know. I am Ethan Myers with the know. We're here talking Saints versus 49ers, another home game. Week two, week one, obviously we lost to the Cardinals, but that's all right. We can bounce back, especially being that, as you know, we jump into injury report first. And while the Saints have Chase Young and Trevor Penning both out, Brock Purdy's out on the other side for the 49ers. Trent Williams was questionable, but he is now expected to play along with Fuaga for the Saints. So, despite being down one offensive lineman, fortunately, we're not down two. Fuaga is going to be kind of one to watch because obviously, with him being kind of questionable, he needed to ramp up a little bit before the week's game today. It's still one of those things where it's week two. Do you go out there and you re-injure yourself? So hopefully the Saints training staff and folks, coaches and things like that kind of monitor him closely because obviously we don't want him going out there and risking a week two game for the rest of his season. So like I said, we a lot of potential to bounce back and go 1-1. If Spencer Rattler kind of turned it on at the end of the game last week. I think they found a little bit of a groove, which helped a lot. I think if you just continue what you were doing late in the game, and we talked about it in the post game show, Spencer seemed to be more comfortable in kind of an up tempo offense. You don't necessarily have to play no huddle offense to do up tempo, but you definitely can play up tempo offense. And with the state of the NFL, teams are kind of daring you to run. I hope the Saints lean into that run game, especially being down an offensive lineman. And again, a young quarterback. I think you have to lean into the run game. You just it's one of those things where no matter what you do, you're gonna need to take pressure off of him, and that's crucial. And frankly, I think you have one of the best running back rooms in the league right now. Between not even getting into the third stringer, you still have Alvin Kamara and Kendre Miller, who are both phenomenal, and then you add in this the emergence of Neil, and it just looks really good. And as a lot of us know, Kendre Miller was kind of shafted by the previous coaching staff, so it's good to see him kind of get some touches. But last week, I think we covered it. It was like 13 or 14 touches for the running back. That's not good enough. I think Alvin Kamara alone should be getting 20 touches. And then, from there, trickle down to maybe five. I'd like to see the Saints go north of 30 touches for the running backs today. Um, because last week we were never playing from behind. Yeah, we were behind, but we weren't, in an instance where we needed to score three touchdowns in one quarter kind of thing. So I never quite understood the logic behind not running the ball more last week, but hopefully we get that corrected this week. And just kind of give our quarterback some relief, let him run some play action eventually and sling that ball because we know Spencer wants to. He had one that, wasn't his best throw last week, but again, he's young. That's no reason to get down on him and not do it again. So we'll see what happens this week with that. Like I said, we do have Brock Purdy out for the 49ers, and we have Chase Young and Trevor Penning out, but Chase Young was out neck last week, so we're going to see a whole lot more of Cameron Jordan. Which brings us back into the next point. Veterans against Mac Jones. Mac Jones is not a rookie. He's not a young quarterback, but he is someone who has essentially struggled to find his footing in the NFL. So I think you have Cameron Jordan, you have Demario Davis. Last week they were absolutely phenomenal. And especially, they as they say they age like fine wine over there because Demario had six solo tackles. One and a half tackles for loss, essentially, and then Cam Jordan out there doing everything: pass deflection, sack, tackle, behind the line of scrimmage tackles. He was all over the place, or stuffs as they call him now. You need to see that again, right? Those veterans need to lead the way. They need to show these young guys, how to control games, and that's going to be one of the most crucial parts as we bridge this gap between the old guard and the new guard. You need to establish that culture, keep that culture, and move forward with it. So I'm excited to see what Cam and Demario do again today. Obviously, we lost a safety in Julian, but it's one man down, one man up kind of thing, or next man up, whatever you want to call it. We can't dwell on that, but again, I think the veterans against Mac Jones are going to be one of the most crucial things in this game because, like I said, Mac Jones has struggled to kind of find his footing in the NFL, and you pressure him early and often, and I think we'll be all right. Obviously, they can lean into Christian McCaffrey to kind of take that pressure off of him. That's where you need guys like Demario to step up, where you need guys like Pete Werner to step up. You need these front seven to really control the game in order for that secondary to get a little bit of relief because Kool-Aid they did have some rough goes, and I think the announcers even said it during the game. That's the life of a corner, a life of a DB, right? You get burnt 10 times, but then you have a good play. So hopefully, he comes out and remembers what happened last week. And I think he traveled a lot less last week, and that's what kind of turned around him getting, kind of toasted out there was the fact that, he stopped traveling with the receiver and he stayed on his side, which I think can help a lot. So I'm excited to see what happens with Kool-Aid because I think the sky is the limit for him. And Alonso is the same way. I think Alonso is going to exceed very well in the scheme and the format that we have right now, which is obviously what we want. But I think those two guys are going to be crucial to like the future of this Saints defense. And if they don't find a way, then we're going to have to kind of start over on defense, which is scary because, like I said, you have Cameron Jordan and Demario Davis who are phenomenal, but they are veterans. They are, Cameron Jordan was drafted in 2011. I can't remember when Demario was drafted because he wasn't drafted by us, but I'd have to assume he's either in the same draft class or one before or one after, just based on, age. But ultimately, we don't. Again, we need to find a way to bridge that gap. Pete Werner, Kool-Aid, Alonso, these are all guys that I think are the ones that will be there for that gap, and they're the ones that we need to succeed in games like this, especially because, again, I just keep going back to the fact that Mac Jones is again struggled to find his footing, and these are the types of games that you want to see those guys have good games and build that confidence and build upon. So um, typically, we would open this up to guests, but we don't have any guests today, and that's all right. But we'll just kind of hop into the NFC South. We have the Falcons. We can actually watch every game today. We'll go in order, right? So we have the Saints game, obviously at noon, and then we have the Panthers at the 3:05 slot. So we'll be able to catch that game if we want to. And then after that, we have the Falcons for the Monday or Sunday night football game, and then we have the Buccaneers facing off against the Texans at 6 p.m. tomorrow. So not quite the Monday night football game, but still the Monday night football game. So. Uh, Panthers immediately follow the Saints. Falcons immediately follow that against the Vikings, and the Buccaneers face off against the Texans tomorrow on Monday. So, like I said, if you wanted to watch every NFC South game, you could. My prediction is that the Panthers and the Falcons come away with another loss, and then the Buccaneers come away with a W against the Texans. Um, I think if the Saints play the way they should play and play the way they can play against Mac Jones and the 49ers, we should come up with a W. And at that point, the standings will pretty well be Saints in second place, which would be phenomenal. And we'll see, um, if it's one of those games that we can kind of steal. Two home games back to back uh, is one of those blessings early in the season that you want to see. Uh, but you have to take advantage of them, right? We lost week one, so we need to make sure that we're winning week two, because you drop a couple of games in a row at the start, especially two home games back to back. It's going to be uphill climb, especially being that a lot of our divisional games, not a lot, but there's five, I think, or four in the last 5 weeks or something like that. So these are not the ones you want to drop, the ones in the beginning of the season. So we'll see how that goes. So, rest of the NFL, again, we could talk about the rest of the NFL and games and matchups and things like that, but it's so early in the season that I don't really know, how much we're going to be able to talk about, just headlines and stories and things like that. And again, we have games to watch for the NFC South all day. So if you want to watch something related to the Saints all day, Saints game, Panthers game, Falcons game tomorrow, you got the Buccaneers game. So That's one thing to watch out for there. But as far as the schedule for today, the only other game that I think I have like any remote interest in watching is just that Eagles and Chiefs game. Obviously, the Chiefs started 0-1, but the Eagles could, kind of put them further in the dirt, that 0-2 line. And, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. I think he's fun to watch. I don't like playing against him, obviously, for the Saints, but when he's not against the Saints, I'm definitely watching him. So that's probably the only other game I'm too interested in watching. But like I said, I'll probably be tuned into that Panthers Cardinals game at 3 o'clock just to kind of watch how our division rivals are doing, and keep score watching on that while I do whatever else. But um, other than that, we'll jump into some bets. So as you know, I typically try to go into bets for the Saints games. Um, simple stuff. Anytime touchdown scores. Last week I liked um, uh, Brandon Cooks. After seeing the way we kind of threw the ball last week, I don't know if I like a receiver anymore. But at the same time, it's tough. AK got that touchdown, but we didn't really run the ball too much. So I'm gonna go against the grain here. I think our veterans are gonna do a lot. That front seven on defense, and I'm gonna say a Saints defensive touchdown. I like it a lot. Um, I just think that again, we find a way to rattle Mac Jones, then we're gonna succeed on defense and succeed in the game. So unfortunately, they can find a way to rattle Spencer Rattler, and essentially not allow us to do anything either. So it's going to be a defensive battle. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game, kind of similar to last week. So that's why anytime touchdown scores are a little more difficult to talk about whenever we're at these early season games where not a lot going on, and the big problem is your starting quarterback for the other team is out. So but on the other side of the ball, I think that Christian will find a way into the end zone. He's uber talented. Obviously, we all know that him and Alvin Kamara are compared to each other a lot over the course of their careers. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Saints kind of contain him. But again, I think the best part of our defense is that front seven. So we're gonna see what happens with that. But Saints defensive touchdown, Christian McCaffrey, parlay him, don't parlay him, do whatever you want to do. Don't take my advice. I'm not great, but here, that's what we do here. So around the league, like I said, nothing too exciting happened. I'm not even really jumping into a lot of around the league things, but if you do want to see some betting, you could always check out our guy Marcelo. He posts some parlays, some fun stuff every now and again. So if you are looking for more of that stuff, make sure you go check him out. He is on socials, and we always, try to retweet his stuff whenever he posts it out there. So that is pretty much it for pregame. Make sure you stay tuned because we're going to do a post game all season, every week. As long as something crazy isn't happening, or if I can't do it, we'll get somebody to take over. But who dat? Let's get this win and join us for post game, and we'll see you later.